It's Friday. It's pre-recorded. Now the show Dozens Love the 9 Years Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the 9 Years Podcast. Nick Draper here with the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deakins, and thank you very much for downloading the show this week, however you have chosen to listen. And it's another week, Stu, where I start by going where to start, because there's so much happening and so much has happened over the past week or so that, I mean, we could take one of many things to discuss and start there. We had a win to discuss over Portsmouth. We had a disappointing defeat in the week to Burton Albion. We had the official dismissal, departure, whatever it is, of Wally Downs as manager, the new appointment of Glyn Hodges as full-time manager, the appointment of Nick Dawes as assistant manager, and we also had the beautiful moment last week, during the week, when we, well, do you know what, Stu?
You just made the list!
Because we were blocked, have joined the many, many thousands of Wimbledon fans that have now been blocked on Twitter by Kwesi Appiah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the circle. I was like, I didn't see when there was a vote. Did we have a vote of who was a favourite?
Who, what, huh?
Well, you said we were blocked. I thought we were talking about the circle.
True.
Could you imagine the first team playing on the circle? Could you imagine?
Oh, that would be the greatest thing.
Could you imagine
ever?
Could you imagine the ratings? Do you know what I mean? I'm sure. Could you imagine a circle of trust? It'd be Kwesi Appiah, Anthony Wordsworth, and Joe Pigott. You can imagine that, couldn't you? Do you know what I mean? Liking each other.
Yes, I think we should make this happen somehow. We should put them up in a flat and just see them communicate without knowing exactly who each other are. And one player could pretend to be a different player and start stirring the pot and what have you.
Could pretend to
be amazing.
They could pretend to pass the ball. Anyway, let's not get too personal with that. But you could just.
It could be.
Yeah.
So rude. I'm not saying anything.
Oh yeah, we can always. It's just amazing how on a circle you can basically pretend to be somebody. Hey, look, they fit. Some of them are fitting great, wouldn't they?
Yeah, we could have players pretending to be championship quality strikers. It would be incredible.
And the emojis they could use.
Well, we can only guess what they would use. I've got my eyes peeled.
Oh, stop it.
Wow. Well, do you know what? We've started on this incident, so let's continue. So, Stu, we've been blocked by Kwesi Appiah on Twitter because you pointed out that his tweet of an egg timer / hourglass and a pair of eyes, just about 15 minutes before it was officially announced that Wally Downs had actually lost his job, was perhaps not the most sensible thing to tweet, and apparently doing that was well, he couldn't accept that, so we've joined the list of blocked. Now, around about this time last year, Stu, we got in a lot of trouble. I say we got in a lot. I got us into a lot of trouble by making a comment about a player. So I have to tread carefully here because you know what can happen.
Exactly.
I don't want to upset anyone, but but that tweet was so daft. Like, and that's a very polite word, isn't it, to use? Like, it didn't need to. He did not need to go there.
It was a very vague tweet. You could read a lot into it, and the Kwesi Appiah could come out and go, "I didn't mean that at all." Do you know what I mean? But the timing and everything about it, and the people that liked it, what you hear, you sort of like you put two and two together. I mean, loads of people could have made five, but it was amazing how quite a lot of people made the same judgment. I just think, from a personal point of view, we've just seen. We're recording this on a Thursday. We're recording it quite late because we're having to take the benefit of all the news. But the FA script has come. The transcript has come out from Wally's hearing, and I don't know if you've read it in full, but I take no joy at all in someone losing their job. I don't think you can. And Wally fought very hard to keep his job. So he could have gone through the motions, and go, "Do you know what, I'm going to get sacked." End of. But he really went personal hearing, worked really hard, and really wanted to stay. And then just to feel that some people are enjoying it or making fun of it didn't seem right.
I mean, I get what you mean when you say we don't 100% know for sure what the meaning behind the tweet was. And I know a few people have said that, but I think if it had been something else or something not related to the Wally situation, then I think Kwesi might have come out and actually said so or deleted the tweet or anything like that, and neither of those things has happened. So we can assume. And also, when you ally it to, as you say, the rumour and innuendo over the past month or so about players perhaps not particularly liking the manager, it does seem to add up to that. And it was, in my view, it was unnecessary. But Wally has gone.
Yeah, I think John with the Kwesi thing is that what frustrates me is the blocking of it. It feels like you can't take any criticism or anything like that, and it just feels a little bit childish just to block. It doesn't endear with the fans at all. And with this club, it's a fans owned club. Doesn't mean we're right, and you've got to, you say things you don't believe in. But I just think he's never ever grasped the idea of it. And it's not the first time we've had this situation with him, is it? Do you know what I mean? So, hey, look, I don't even care if he blocks us or not. I'm not too bothered about that. We've got enough followers, so it's not a major problem. But it just feels like, did it need to be done? Especially with, like you said, the stuff that's been, leaked or been talked about, the players not necessarily liking Wally. Just feels like, I think it just deserves a little bit of respect on that. So, yeah, hey. It's been a fun week in the Wimbledon household.
In the Wimbledon household, in the Circle apartments / flats, whatever it is. I think you said their relationship with fans. Yes, I mean it's just completely deteriorated now, rightly or wrongly, with Kwesi, hasn't it? I think he was booed onto the pitch when he came on against Burton in the week. It's such a shame because actually, not 4 days earlier, at the end of that Portsmouth game, we really felt like there was a real togetherness. And that Portsmouth game was, I think, my favourite game of the season so far.
Yeah.
There was a real big lift at the end of it. It was a real good feeling, and it was a nice feeling. It wasn't a euphoric feeling, but it was just a comfortable sort of feeling with everything else that had been going on. And almost immediately that feeling was lost because we had the fallout from we had the news that Wally had been. Well, I don't know what Wally was. Was he officially? Do we say he was dismissed? I guess we have to. And then we had the issues with like the Kwesi tweet and what have you and things like that. And then we had a poor performance on the Tuesday, and it just feels like we're almost not back to square one, but it was a real backward step, and it was a real shame because things have been so positive for such a while. Do you think now we've got a week off or 10 days off, if you can consider the time we've already had, with no game, a time just for things to settle down, for Glyn to get his feet under the table, and we pick up almost a fresh start in November?
Yeah, the timing's great. It's unfortunate we're not playing Bury because we all obviously know the situation with them. But in terms of where we are, to have a break, do some training. Nick Dawes comes in as assistant manager, so the interview is quite interesting with him, that he knows the players but hasn't been on the training ground. I think it gives a chance to embed some, training and tactical stuff is always good because sometimes it's just game after game. But yeah, it probably just, I know I spoke to a few people who just feel it just needs to settle down, just to calm down. But there is an undercurrent that people are not impressed of what they've heard. And again, we say this on what we've heard. Some players have, voiced their opinion, and that's dangerous because if then those people that we feel that might have been the ones, and we might be wrong, if they don't perform, then they're fair game, and it will turn very quickly. And we heard of an incident at Burton where Wordsworth was just reminded of that, and you got to be careful because if that fan player relationship breaks down, it makes it difficult for the players. Do you know what I mean? So we all need to be together. We need united. Hopefully now the club have made their decision and got the statements out. We now can hopefully start moving on into November. And the transfer window will be upon us very soon, and see what we can do in the transfer window.
It's relationships with players and fans. It's a really difficult line to strike, isn't it, in our situation? We're never going to have the situation we did in the CCL. I think perhaps naively we thought we could carry that on into the Football League, and we do things like the man of the match presentations always on in the main bar after the game, and players are almost rotated to appear in the bar after the game, and maybe we're just at a level now. I mean, it's impossible to keep it up, isn't it? I don't know. Is it or is it? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm chucking it out there.
I think we pay lip service to it. I think you can do it. You know, I think the thing we've done now, we haven't really got the personalities. You know, because I get with me about the CCL days, but we did it well up to the conference and even in League Two. We had a team that engaged and stuff like that. I think we tend to pay lip service to it now. I was interested. I've been for the last 2 home games. I've stayed behind to watch Man of the Match presentation, and I've been amazed how few people are going to it. So, is it a case that the format is just wrong? Is it a case that people just think, well, what's the point because I can't get served? You know, beer's not. There must be something, but I think you can do it. You know, I've brought people along who've not been, you know, who are fans of other clubs. And, you know, for example, my brother-in-law now, Graham, who's an Aston Villa fan, he loves coming to Wimbledon because he can't believe we still have that connection. And he loves that. And he thinks it's something you should never lose. I think we pay lip service to it. I think we could do a lot better. I know we're not going to try and do too much this season, but why shouldn't we? You know, I think I said to you before, like, meet the manager. So we've got Meet the Manager coming up in mid-November now. I think there's been a date agreed for it. Why not bring some players along to it, get some engagement going along? It doesn't take much. Chelsea ladies pretty much show us up for what they do. If you look around all Kings Meadow, they're always advertising player meets and stuff like that. And I don't see why we can't do it. I just sometimes wonder how serious are we? And is it a case, actually, that sometimes we've said before, if you're part of other business clubs, etc., and the yellow and blue, you get that. So we've got to be careful not to create a divide of, you know, the haves and the have-nots.
We could be out doing things, and I've said this many times before, half-term week is upon us, or I don't know, actually. This is confusing because I'm on half-term as you listen to this podcast, and I will be next week, but a lot of schools have been on half-term this week, so I don't know. Who knows what's going on in Kingston schools and Merton schools at the moment, but at some point over these 2 weeks, we should have had players in centre court for a couple of hours, sat behind a table, just signing autographs, taking pictures.
Yeah, we could.
I don't know why that's a big ask.
We could do, but I don't think it's necessarily about the younger fans. I think we do have quite a bit of the younger fans. I think it's sometimes the adults, if I'm being honest with you. You know, I'm just looking this, the Meet the Manager is the Thursday, the 21st of November. So, I think you could I just think you could do a lot more. I really do. And what we don't want to move, you know, we don't want to move to a new ground and all of a sudden have all these lovely, you know, areas, hospitality and stuff, and lose that touch because, unfortunately, you know, the fans, we know quite a lot of the older fans, and it's a question now sometimes of the AFC Wimbledon fans and the old Wimbledon FC fans because they think differently. This is why the Waddy situation blew up, because actually the older fans, and unfortunately I'm in that bracket now of it, you know, remember what Waddy did as a player. I just miss Waddy. But we've just got to be careful. You know, we've got to make sure we keep that bond. It can be done. It just depends how serious the club are at it.
It's a fascinating topic of conversation for me because the relationship between fans and players is just because of this week and what's happened in a couple of instances. And the changes in it, social media does again. Social media is again an issue here, like we know and like we've referenced already. And I just go back to the days like I've seen conversations on social media, funnily enough, on social media, fans going about the players and how we should treat them and what we should say to them and things like that. And it is a two-way street. And I think some people are saying, you know, we should be having a go at the players because they might just decide not to turn up for us or whatever, or not play as well for us or whatever it might be. These are players as well that we forget that now, and this is again going back to that non-league thing you were talking about earlier, and we were saying about man of the match presentations and what have you from the non-league. We've gone from players that were playing for the love of it to players that now this is their job. And it's not to say they don't love football or love playing football, but this is their job. This is their livelihood. So in reality, and especially at the top level now, people will immediately say this is the case. The players don't really care about the fans because, to be honest with you, they're getting paid and they're getting on with it and they're doing their job 9 to 5. And during the week, they have no interaction with the fans. So why should they really care?
Yeah, but I think then it depends on how the club is set up. So I've said very much about we should have an identity. I've said about other clubs that do it in terms of when their kids come through. And it's like, you know, Mike Robinson being involved with the first team is really interesting. And Glyn Hodges has said some really good stuff about Mark Robinson in terms that he's going to keep him involved in the first team setup and all the first team games. But if you speak to the great thing about the academy is if you chat to any of the kids in the academy, they all understand what Wimbledon's about. Robbo will not let them. In terms of, he's not just in terms of coaching them to play football. He coached them how to be men. Loads of examples. Ruben Collins, I think, is on loan at Bainstake at the moment. You can't ask for a more warm and in terms of anybody. I come to the ground. They always come and shake my hand. Really approachable, understands that fan side of it. If you have an identity, then you can build it the whole way through. If you go to France, I'm just thinking, if you go to, we're going to use some clubs here, if you go to Liverpool and to Man U, you understand what that club's about. We may not have a checkered history as Manchester United on that side of it, but they have beliefs, don't they, in terms of what the identity of the club is. The players should play along with that. If I work for a company and I know what their values are, I work towards those values. So I don't always buy when people go, I know what you're saying, it's just a full-time job for them, but you're working for a company. I'm sure where you work, you have values that you have to adhere to from the school. I do, so I don't see why players can't do.
With Manchester United and Liverpool, and the last thing I want to say on this, though, do you think you're right in the identity that these clubs have and the mystique of these clubs? Is that not some way aided because there is just that greater distance between the players as human beings? At the end of the day, they're just humans like you and me. They all do everything we do on a daily basis, but they have that little bit of distance, which just allows that mystique to sort of remain in place. If you get too close to something, sometimes you see sort of the reality of the situation. It loses that element of it. I guess for me, it'd be like going to if I went to work for the WWE, I'd be like, oh, right, this sucks.
No, you're right. And just to sort of wrap up this bit before we move on, Nathan Trott was man of the match on Saturday. And really interesting. Actually, no, he wasn't on Saturday, was he? Was he on Saturday? I'm trying to think. No.
He was.
He was. My mind's playing tricks. Anyway, just to say, the funny thing is actually a few people I was talking to going, I should be funny, he hardly talks. He actually come across really, really well in terms of what he said. He was quite assured at. He's not he's not Rambo, and I know we try not to compare him with that, but you can't help. But you actually realise that he was a very confident young man, and he just isn't an outwardly vocal talking person. But a lot of people went, wow, I really feel like I'm more connected with him now. And it just got me thinking was what you're saying about Man U and Liverpool is that their social media side is so good. So interviews are good, a good selection of it and a good volume of it. I think sometimes that's what we need to play with, because when Nathan was struggling in the season where people couldn't connect with him, why didn't we get him out in front of the cameras and get him to know, do some light-hearted things and get him to know? Because I can honestly say I was in that room and there was people that I know are quite critical of players. All of a sudden I went, he's not a bad bloke. He comes across quite well. And all it took was one interview. So you're right, the distance for Man United and Liverpool does work. But why can't we get that right with our social media and make sure we get these players a bit more engaged?
20 minutes into the podcast.
And we've not talked about anything.
We've talked about lots of things, but we do need to talk about Wally Downs. So the report from the FA came out on Thursday. And I know we have both perused it. I don't know how much in depth you've been able to. I've had a skim through it. The first thing, I'm not going to lie to you, is the three-man commission that were listening to Wally's case include one Mr. Stuart Ripley, your favourite former Blackburn Rovers 90s footballer.
Yeah, because he just had the blonde look, didn't he? Do you know what I mean? And a nice, pretty boy that a fullback like Ben Thatcher just wanted to wipe out. But that Blackburn team was great. Stuart Ripley, I'm trying to think who else. Hey, look, you can go for a name, Shearer.
Kevin Gallagher, Colin Hendry, Jeff Kenner.
There you are, see?
Graham Lasso, David Batty. Oh, my word. I remember it like it's Tim Sherwood.
Tim Flowers.
Wasn't he a singer?
Tim Flowers, now the manager of Solihull Moles. Who would have thought that? Mm-hmm. But, three-man commission, you're right.
Yeah. And, this gives detail and context that we haven't had before into the specifics of Wally's misdemeanour or misdemeanours of placing bets. 5 bets in the 2013-14 season totalling £565, and the commission. The person who wrote this report must have loved putting in that last clause into that sentence. 5 bets, total stakes £565, range of stakes £50 to £240. Every bet lost.
Yeah.
It's like reading my autobiography. And then last season, 3 bets, total stakes £35.71, 2 losing bets, and then 1 winning bet, which returned £39.08. So he made a net profit of £17.13. So overall, something like £547.87, I think, is what he's lost on these bets. They're not inconsequential sums of money. I myself would be very, very upset. Not that I would be likely to make bets of £565 in total, but you know what I mean? That's quite a substantial amount of money. But in the grand scheme of things, when we know that things have happened with other people in football, some people that we might not have heard about as well, by the way, because they have fantastically expensive lawyers, which Wally could not obviously afford. It does seem it's wrong. He's made a mistake. He's given the club a decision to make because he's broken the laws or what have you. But, I mean, laws, they are black and white in one sense, but there's also shades of grey. And I think there's a shades of grey here just because of they weren't bets that were in any way, I think, what was the word they used? Suspicious? Was that the word they used? I'll have a look through again. But they weren't betting on any club that he was involved with at the time losing or anything like that. They were small amounts, and it was just a bit of a numpty. I think this is just given, I've got to say, I think this combined with all the rumour and innuendo about unhappy staff at the club and poor form at the start of the season, I think it's a perfect storm. The timing of these bets coming out is coincidental.
Yeah, let's not beat around the bush. You know, we all you got to do is match up what you've read in that FA report and to what the statement was. And there's a telling line that tells you everything you need to know. And I'll read it. It's like, while Wally's FA disciplinary process concluded last week, the board believes that a change of first-team manager is the best option to help the club maintain its recent upturn in performances. That's all you need to read. That tells you, because I read the FA report, and I generally felt there's nothing there. You know, and the thing is, this has been going on for a little while. So they said that there was a telephone interview with Wally. They put 2 months in just to confuse us. They put July and August in. So obviously the FA didn't proofread it before they sent it out. But basically they've done a telephone. It's been going on for ages. So it's always been in the background. The club obviously have already known. Well, you'd hope Wally would have informed them that he's having an interview with the FA about it. But it's been going on. But, you know, the club have taken the opportunity. I don't think the FA disciplinary thing has anything to do with it, if I'm being honest with you. The statement come out, and I think we all read it and went, just be honest. You know, they didn't need to put all the rest of it in there. That one line said everything you need to know.
Sorry, I was just, as you were saying that, yeah, I agree with you completely. I was just flicking through the report as well, just to the redacted parts of the thing. But as I say, it was looking at the penalty of the actual betting side of things, and it seems like they fined him £3,000 and suspended him for 28 days, and it seems like they've dealt with it. They've sanctioned him as they should do because he is in breach of regulations, but it seems that it seemed fair.
But they referred to his record. He's never been involved in any trouble, which is surprising for Wally. Let's be honest with you.
I was gobsmacked.
But I've read.
Oh, hold on. Apart from crimes against fashion.
Yeah, we're going to miss that. Hey, look, do you know what?
Nope.
I've said to you personally that I've found it very difficult to warm to Wally. I generally have, but it doesn't mean that It doesn't mean that I think a person should be. Be careful I put this, but I feel we've just used this excuse and we've hid behind it, and I don't like what I'm hearing in terms of player power and all that sort of stuff. I think it's dangerous. If you let it happen once, it's going to happen again. You know, so if I was Glyn, I'd be thinking these players could turn on me straight away. And not saying that players do this generally. There's a lot of player power because it's very easy to get rid of a manager because a manager doesn't have a big salary, especially if you go to Championship and Premiership level. The moment the players don't like you, that's it. It's game over because it's very easy to sack a manager. You can't sack a player because ultimately you're losing on a free transfer, and the club don't want to be penalised financially. But I be honest with you, I genuinely don't like. When I read through that FA hearing, I genuinely felt there was a person who had made a mistake, held his hands up, complied with everything they did, and they confirmed that. And the FA only fined him because the FA did a suspension. They did the least suspension they could possibly do because they recognised his record was good. Yes, he'd bet. He had made no financial gain of it. It was stupid. It was naive. But he hadn't deliberately done it to, win loads of money. As we said, he lost money. And I just think, I'm not... I think the decision was... I'll probably contradict myself. I think the decision was right because I think the football side of it, I think, yes, we probably needed to have a change, even if it's very short, because of what we've seen Glenn can do. But I just don't generally... It leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, I'm being truthful.
I've just got the statement up on my screen so I could go through it. And the first thing I noticed is the image of the badge, the big badge crest. We've changed the lettering on the top and the bottom of the AFC Wimbledon to our sort of current house-style font for everything else. Just didn't notice we'd done that with the badge before now, so just saying that. It's interesting because we're changing the badge. We voted on that last year, so we're going to get a new badge anyway soon. But anyway, that is by the by. You pointed out the line in the statement. You said that all we needed to know in regards to his decision to leave, when you said a change of first-team manager is the best option to help the club maintain its recent upturn in performances. It's an interesting one because results, we won 3 in a row off the back of Glyn's first game in charge, as it were, which was the second half, improved second half performance away at Peterborough, if you remember. We had a couple of minor cup games, one of which shouldn't even be a cup. I'm not including that in my commentary here, but performance-wise, I mean, the irony for me is that Rochdale, we said we were very happy that we were attacking on the front foot and we took a 3-0 lead in the first half, but second half we could have dropped again, we could have lost those points there. We rode our luck massively. Southend are possibly the worst team to ever play football in the history of the game. And that Portsmouth performance was very much Neil Ardley / Wally Downs' performance. We defended, and we were resolute, but we were not entertaining. We didn't get our attacking game going in any way whatsoever. Like people have been talking about our improved attacking play and our improved passing style and what have you. It wasn't really on show at all this week, really. It very much echoes of the end of last season where we were getting results over the line through resolve more than any real quality, and that's the issue, isn't it? We just don't have the quality. So whether Glyn's in charge or Wally's in charge or Neil Ardley's in charge, we're going to be down the bottom of the league and playing unattractive football.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the games of Rochdale games, and Rochdale actually, the Rochdale result looks a good result because Rochdale are picking up results. All the time, got Ian Henderson playing, they're going to get goals, aren't they? But I think the Rochdale result is a decent result in the end of the day, and I think that game was we were never going to ride the game out without a clean sheet and stuff. But I think you've got what I see at the moment. And this is where it's so difficult because you can contradict yourself in many ways when you talk about the Wally situation, but the players generally look like there was something that was missing at the beginning of the season. We've highlighted it a few times about the franchise games in terms of we just didn't feel they were up for it. Just generally didn't, and that disappointed. And I think that, for me, said that can he get these players playing for him? Because the manager does lead that. But since we've got to the Rochdale game, you could say the Peterborough game early on, it just feels that the players are... It just feels they're not working harder, but just a bit more of a belief about them, whether Glyn's given that, whether they just didn't have that with Wally and all the things we're hearing. But the Pompey game, I think, was generally like we knew we probably weren't going to be able to play the pretty football because we were putting it picked off. So we sort of played a very measured, and I agree with what you're saying, it sounds like a Neil Ardley approach of a basics, defend well. But we had, what I liked about Saturday was we had a resilience about us. So yes, Pompey were a better team. They had the chances, but we stuck in. We stuck in with the game. Our heads didn't drop. We had a trot. Whose handling was brilliant and assured. Our defenders did everything right. And then we got a bit of quality from Sanders on the free kick. And then we got Tyler Thomas, who I thought had an excellent game getting a header. But it was just, I said to you after the game, it just felt that that's a team I want to see. I know we're not going to get, breathtaking Man City passing and Liverpool passing. We're not going to get that. We're League One, aren't we? But what I've always said, I can live with us not being as good technically, but I can't live with us not working hard enough. And that's what I've seen different in the last couple of games under Glyn. And that's probably what the board and the Don's Trust board have seen also.
What did you make? I know you sort of summed it up there, I know, but in the Portsmouth game, the team that I've been struggling, expected to be at top of the table, their fans were singing Jacket out. They wanted him gone. We won't make any jokes about Coates.
There was a cold chill over that corner, wasn't there, really?
There we go. I said, but you went for it anyway. Okay, fair enough.
I've got him before he gets sacked. That's what's going to happen, let's be honest.
They won in the week, I believe, so who knows? But I thought Portsmouth generally were a team that lacked, like we said beforehand, they lack pace. For teams that lack pace, as is the case with our good selves, generally will struggle to get in behind teams, especially teams like ourselves that defended deep and midfield sat deep. And that's not a team for me that's going to get out of this league, because I think we saw last season the type of teams that are going to get out of this league, and they play beautiful attacking football and are called Luton.
Got that one in.
You had to, but yeah, it's disappointing for me. Portsmouth as a club seem like they need a bit of they do need a little bit of a freshening up, I think. In terms of our performance, like I've already said about and you've said about lack of technical quality and passing, things like that. Were you surprised, or have you been surprised though, at just how at times poor we are at keeping possession? Because that seems to be the big problem second half against Rochdale. It certainly seems to be the problem against Portsmouth. The ball just kept on coming back at us because we can't hold on to it for long spells. Yeah,
I said before, Force is a great finisher, really good finisher, but apart from he can't, it's very difficult to hold the ball up. The good thing about Pompey was actually in the first sort of 20, 25 minutes. They literally, and no disrespect to Joe Pigott here, but they literally looked at Force as being the main threat. It was like he was Messi at one point, because I think at one point he had 3 players on him. And then when he went through, Pigott was free, but he couldn't get his head up to square it. But they were genuinely frightened of Force. There was no doubt about that. But yeah, we couldn't keep hold of the ball. We didn't get Wagstaff or Osu high enough up the pitch in the end to really impact. So the previous games we've seen Wagstaff, pushing back his winger. That didn't really happen. But if you think about and we had a discussion after the game, because I think I thought you felt we were fortunate to stay in the game, but you could argue we had the best 2 chances in the first half. Force got through and got blocked on the line, and then Pigott, as he has, Pigott's got a great. He has a really good vision. Pigott does. He can pick the pass and the chips and stuff like that. He's done before. I feel he's a very accomplished finisher. Just doesn't do enough around the other parts of the game. But I felt we were in the game. Some games I felt we haven't had a chance. It just felt like, we're just going for the emotions. Even the Ipswich game and the Sunderland game, I never really felt that we really worried them. But I felt Pompey had enough to worry about us on Saturday. And maybe it's the fact that we've got players like Force and Sanders that the team now sort of believe, and Wordsworth coming back. The team have a little bit of belief that they got match winners, whereas I don't think early on in the season we necessarily did.
There are 2 things I think, and we can discuss the impact of these in regards to the Burton feature. 2 things I think we are missing. Is obviously you say about the centre forward that's going to keep the ball and make it stick up front for us, because otherwise the ball just keeps going back. The other one is, who is our defensive midfielder? Who is going to be the player that's actually going to break the game up, win tackles, get involved? I think Wordsworth and Sanders were restricted very much against Portsmouth because they were sitting so deep to almost add bodies just to stop Portsmouth almost playing between the lines or getting in behind us. No one's actually going out and actually dominating that area, winning the ball. And Pinnock on Saturday, I'm saying nothing because I get in trouble.
No, but you're right. He didn't play well, and he got subbed in the end of it, and I think that reflected that. But I think if you look at since he's come back from the Peterborough game, he's put performances in that justify him having a chance of a first team place. But we're not always going to, from all accounts, of the Burton game on Tuesday night, Wordsworth didn't play well, but that's going to happen because the reason these players are down in League One is because consistently they don't put great performances in. And there's a lot of pressure on Wordsworth at the moment to really be our match winner, and Force is going to start feeling that pressure soon because we're relying on him. You look at the goal scoring, he's well ahead, and so he sort of knows if he starts drying up, then it's going to be a more difficult game, isn't it? So, but I think there's a bit more. There just seems to be a bit more about us. There's a belief. I said to you on Saturday, it's the first time I've been at Kings Meadow, and I'm not just saying this, but first time at Kings Meadow in a long, long while, genuinely believing we had a chance to win. and I can't remember. And I think that was also echoed by the crowd. The crowd wasn't massively vocal, because I think Kings Meadow just genuinely depressed the hell out of you, isn't it, really? But there was just that little bit of belief, and I think the players sense on that. So, with Pompey, slow as anything. I've never seen a team so slow in attacking. However, when they played on a counter from our corners, they caused us the most problems when they countered us on a corner. But they were slow as anything, and Pompey needed a massive change.
The atmosphere at Kings Meadow, like I say, I actually referenced this. I tweeted this out on Saturday because I enjoyed it, because there just seemed to be a little bit. We'd obviously had the winds that had helped and just eased that pressure a little bit on us. There was just a little bit less tension in the air. Normally it can get quite. I'm going to be honest. When I sit in the main stand, it can get quite moany.
That's just
around.
That's just Ray.
Believe me, it's not Ray. It's generally very moany atmosphere, and people start to get on people's backs very quickly, especially the referee and what have you. And the referee was a bit annoying on Saturday, but there was less of that angst about the place, and so it was quite a nice feeling. And it sort of felt, like I said to you, Stu, we've had this conversation before, I'm not going to go back down to it now, but it just seems to be, everything seems more pressurised. I never used to remember football being this pressurised, especially back in the day when I'd go and watch Fulham or Luton when they were playing at this level. And you just go along and you watch the game and you'd enjoy it and you go home and that would be it. And do you know what? Everything now just seems so magnified and everything's put on one result, and it irritates me. So the Portsmouth game was kind of quite nice because it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like it had that pressure. It didn't feel like... And you know what else? Despite how poor we have been for a while in this league and how we've struggled to stay in this division, there still seems to be this air of almost expectancy when I've gone to home games with the fans, expecting us to be better than we actually are. And on Saturday, it didn't feel like we had that. It felt like people were just expecting to see us have a game with Portsmouth. We knew Portsmouth was a better team, and we weren't going to get on players' backs if things didn't go according to plan.
Can I say, though, there was such a big frustration for me about Kings Meadow on Saturday.
I know what you're going to say.
So, I'm a child. So what I would say to you is that when at Kings Meadow, we've chatted about this before, but there's always little milestones when we went through the leagues of when we would get our score on Sky Sports, when we would get squad numbers, when will we get yellow and blue nets. I'm the biggest child there ever is. And we have a scoreboard, or we have a big screen. I don't know what they call them now. It's just a screen in it, do you know what I mean? Like, to be fair.
Titantron.
Well, to be fair,
It's not called that.
It ain't that big nowadays, because people got those in their houses nowadays. You get 70-inch screens, don't you? Do you know what I mean? However, I know the club listens, so I'm going to say this. This is my request, okay? This is me being a whinge. But I got really excited at the fact that we had goal come up on the scoreboard and everybody scored in that corner, and then we had the Tyrell Thomas graphics. And the graphics are really good, actually, a really good improvement. However, my biggest frustration is when we're reading the team out, this is not Mikey T's fault, when we're reading the team out, can we just have a graphic on the scoreboard? Because it would be so nice. I think, do you know what? And I might be wrong, but I feel that the pre-match stuff really does help. So if you can generate whatever atmosphere and having a big screen, let's just use it. Do you know what I mean? Let's put some graphics on there with players, and so when you're announcing a team and Mikey T's announcing it, do that. But that was my biggest frustration because the ending of the game in that corner with all the graphics coming up, it felt like we were in a proper big time. I told you I'm a child.
I'm saying nothing. No, do you know what though? When you said you was one thing that bothered you, that was not what I had in mind. So when I said I knew, that was not it whatsoever.
Oh, okay. See, I was phoning you that one, aren't I?
You have indeed.
I'm just a child. You know how excited I got when we, got the yellow and blue nets. I'm the one that when I saw a little bit of steel being raised, when the erection was raised at Plough Lane, I got quite excited.
Too many jokes.
I'm a child. I get pleased by small things.
Oh,
Let's stop there.
Let's move on very, very quickly, because you said you did get excited when we got the new goal nets, but here's a question: why do we always say yellow and blue when we are blue with a tiny hint of yellow?
I don't know. Does it because it just flows off the tongue easier? I don't.
Because it scans into a Beatles song, but yeah. You know where I'm going with this? Well, no.
I know exactly where you're going to this one.
Okay, we play in blue. This is not Portsmouth now. This is Burton. We play in blue. Why are we... green away at Burton Albion. It was ridiculous.
And those lights are not very good, so they actually don't make it very good for the... They looked very similar, didn't they?
They looked almost identical. So the fact is, I've never known. Why do teams? All through the years, you know what? You'd see teams that would, for whatever reason, they'd suddenly change their shorts. They'd keep their home colour, their first choice colours, but they'd change their shorts because the shorts clashed. Now we've just changed our kit away to Burton to make sure our shorts are exactly the same colour. It doesn't make any sense. The kits were almost identical, and yet there was no reason for us not to play in blue because that is our colour. Blue is our colour. Anyway, I've said it. I've got it out there. Things change for a little while. They don't seem to be changing back anytime soon. The next thing I will say, Stu, the thing I thought you were going to mention about the atmosphere on Saturday that annoyed you, or the thing about the staging that annoyed you, was that goddamn fucking bell.
Oh, yeah.
That did not shut up for the 90 minutes. How has nobody in the Portsmouth end just... I don't know how they've not either been driven to despair or actually just got rid of him somehow, or stolen the bell off him. And how did he even get into the state? Why are we being so nice? Don't let him in.
Could you imagine the uproar if they didn't let him in? He's amongst their fans. I don't know many of their fans, if I'm being truthful, because probably...
I actually know quite a few of those 700, actually. I'm on first name terms.
But you just wonder whether that's just what they've accepted. But could you imagine if we tried to stop him going in? Or I suppose they've probably got a recording, haven't they, that just keeps going on and on and on. Do you know what I mean? It's like the England band, isn't it? But I still remember years ago when we actually got tickets and we were right in front of the England band. I don't think I've ever been so disappointed in my life on that. But yeah.
Can we just get rid of the England band? That's ridiculous now. They've been there for like 20 years.
All those free tickets they've had because they must travel with the team. We hear.
Jeez, and the bell, my word. Oh, my God. Anyway, sorry, that said. A football point, sorry, because I was going to, before we got totally sidetracked, as we like to do on this show. The last football point I'll make, you mentioned Wordsworth not having a great game, people looking to him to be a leader on the pitch and what have you. It's interesting that he was officially nominated as our vice-captain, and in Will Nightingale's absence through injury, it's actually been Scott Wagstaff that's now taken that mantle. Interesting choice.
Good shout.
Or fair choice. I think it's a fair choice. I think it's the right choice. I think Wagstaff has proven himself to be... He's turned opinion around. I think a few people were doubting him, but I think he's done well recently. So
yeah, he's always worked hard, but he just hasn't worked hard. He's always worked hard, but we've always felt, is there anything to that? You know, is it just running for running's sake? You know, I can run after a ball, but it doesn't mean I'm going to get it. But yeah, we've sort of found a position that he generally plays well in. And like we've said before, you know, Wagstaff always gets a great reception from fans of clubs that he's been at. So he's obviously, you know, fans are not mugs. They sort of know a player or someone that works hard or is, you know, just generally a good player to have around the club. So yeah, really pleased. But, you know, I think Pompey wasn't great for him. I don't think he had a great game against Burton. But to be honest with you, they're not... The Burton game isn't going to be a game that's going to define our season. We don't win them anyway. 1-0 defeat is probably a great result anyway. They're not going to define our season. The games that are going to define our seasons are your Lincolns and your Shrewsburys and those sort of teams.
Yeah, we lost to Burton because we always lose to Burton. I think the last three performances against Burton have improved in terms of the margin of defeat from a 3-0 to a 2-0 to a 1-0, but the performances actually have got worse, I'd argue, over that time. The 2-0 at home in the league last season was woeful. That one and the Fleetwood one. So something about Burton we don't like playing, but fair play to all the hundreds of fans that travelled up there for another midweek fixture. We seem to have had a few of those down the years with Burton. And, I mean, we're just, again, I think it's probably one game too far for a team that's a squad that's stretched thin. I mean, you're looking at the team on Saturday and looking at potential changes you can make. And you looked at the bench and you thought, we're really stuck here for game-changing substitutions. I think that proved to be the case again. So, Thin squad. Burton are a good team, very good, well-run club, and we're just one game too much for us. But not to have a shot on target, we don't want to go back down to that issue again, do we? No,
but you know what? I wouldn't say they've earned the right to have a bad performance, but you know, if you look at the formed guide over the last 6 games, I think we're around about 9th. So not that they've earned the right to have a bad performance, but ultimately now, when we hadn't won a game all season, that result, you know, if we'd gone to Burton and got beat, it'd have been like, come on, this is crazy. But actually, we've sort of given ourselves a little bit of leeway. You know, we've had a really good October. We've just got to now make sure we have a good, or at least an average November.
Overall, Stu, who had the best week for us on the pitch, would you say?
Well, I couldn't really find a player, really, so I went for the best one was probably Glyn Hodges had the best week.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not going to argue with that.
So you're asking who's had the worst week?
Well, yes, unfortunately, that is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, having gone with Glyn Hodges for your best week, is there a point in me asking you who's had the worst week for us?
No.
If we were to restrict it to players, could we say Terrell Thomas for the best week?
Yeah, what a great header that was.
It was a great header.
And he had a good game as well. He had a good game. Yeah, I thought he was very close to man of the match. And the celebration, by the way, whoever got that video in the corner of them all celebrating, well done, because that was a really good video. But yeah, go for Tyrell. I'm not too sure I'm going to pick up for the worst week. Joe, I was looking through actually, by the way, which was really made me chuckle. I was looking at goals scored and stuff, and Force has got 7 goals now, and Pinnock and Kwesi have got a pair between them. However, pair between them. Sorry, 2 between them. 4 between them. What I was talking about. I was just looking at it on one of the sites. Look at it. It says aggression, and the funny thing is Wordsworth has probably only been back for a couple of weeks, and he's already picked up 3 bookings, and is our second most booked player this season. And Kwesi only gets on about every 5 or 10 minutes, and he's got 3 bookings as well. So basically, it just tells you that they can't tackle in a such. But at least he's getting more. He's getting more cards and getting goals. So yeah, that tells you enough, doesn't it?
More yellow cards than he'll get Christmas cards this year from.
Let me balance this Kwesi thing up, Joel. I hear loads of good things about Kwesi being a really nice guy, and do you know what? The funny thing was, when I took my son recently to a game, Kwesi actually was really nice to my son. Actually, gave him a high five and stuff. And it's not I don't like Kwesi. I just really frustrated about what he does on a football pitch, and that's what I judge him on. I don't judge him on as a person. But actually, he come across as a really nice guy, which makes me think, why the hell does he do this? Why? Maybe he's just got his sort of maybe he's impulsive and just keeps pressing the block button really too quickly. But I do hear a lot of good things about him. There's a nice guy there somewhere. I just think that relationship, as we said, it's just gone down the pan.
It is a shame because we have actually said many times on this podcast this season that, yeah, he's a nice guy. And actually, we've praised him for actually putting in efforts earlier in the season, but perhaps other players didn't. So, yeah, I mean, as with all situations, Stu, as I said earlier, shades of grey. Things are never black and white. They're never black and white. Well, one issue is black and white, and that is that Milton Keynes are scum, and they should not exist. And on that note, I have to point out that in terms of looking around results in the division, my pick of the results over these couple of fixtures were obviously Rochdale 2, Milton Keynes 0 on Tuesday evening. We would have to reference Doncaster scoring 7 at Southend, even though Southend had 9 men for quite a lot of time of that. Sunderland's new manager getting off to a winning start 5-0 at home to Tranmere, emphatic start. And Ipswich, 2 defeats, 2-0 defeats in a week. Not a great time for them, but I guess they had to lose at some point.
I agree. Yeah, do you know what? I think Phil Parkinson will do well at Sunderland. I really do. I think he's a good manager. And I know obviously they won 5-0. There was a lot of goals. I have to say though, the Southend, the sending off. If you've not seen the highlights, the first red card is just a bad tackle. Could have done a lot of damage with that. But what I tend to do with clubs that are struggling, I tend to look at their fans and just see. If you look at every goal that goes in that's in front of the Southend home end, just that look of resignation. They can't even get mad because the goals are when you can see 7 goals, no one scores 7 great goals. Amongst that, there's some errors. There's a lot of errors, but yeah, have a look at the Southend fans. Well, there's not many of them now. There seems to be less and less and less now watching them games.
I will check it out. It's still highly amusing to me that they've won 1 game this season. It was against Milton Keynes. Anyway, right, before I move on with our new game, Stu, we have a new game.
Yippee, yippee, yay.
We cannot have Nick Zan every second countdowns anymore because Wally Downs is not here. And to be honest with you, it's pretty much reaching its natural conclusion. I was struggling for things to do on it anyway. So, yeah. But before you do that, very quickly, the circle did in fact end last week. We are going to mention it very quickly. The wrong person won. Absolute knobhead won it. And you can tell the reaction because as soon as that was over and everyone was like, how the hell's he won that? What a dickhead. And then you've not heard anything of it since. So I think they I think the Circle, as good as the Circle is, they haven't quite got the finale show quite right yet, and they got the wrong winner. So yeah,
I have to say, by the way, we watched it. Did you see the reaction? I've forgotten their names already. That tells
Georgina?
you. Did you see her reaction when they said it was 70 grand and not 100?
No, straight away she was like, "What?"
She was like,
"You said it was 100 grand."
She's like, "What? You made me stay in a room on my own and we've done all that, and you only give me 70 grand?" I'm like, "Chill." But her face, oh dear. If a picture said 1,000 words.
Indeed, but I was a fan of Georgina, though. It must be said.
I'm sure.
I was ashamed she did not go on to win. But hey, a dickhead won it instead. Well, is he from Milton? No, he's not from Milton Keynes. I just assume everyone knows a dickhead is.
Because that making him better.
Yeah, there you go. He's from Milton Keynes. Yep. What a dick. Right, new game.
Yes.
Do you want the title of our new game, Stu?
I can't wait.
Okay. I don't know how long this will last. This might be a one-off because we've got a break next week because there's no podcast next week. So we might just do this as a one-off to get us through, and then we'll start afresh in November. But for now, for this week's Stu, it's time to play Kwesi Apaya's Twitter Blockbusters.
Oh, we're going to be in so much trouble.
So the way this is going to work, Stu, very, very simple, is that much like Blockbusters, you're going to pick a letter. The question I will then ask you, the answer of it begins with the letter you have picked. We don't want to be here all week, so you've only to get from one side of the Blockbuster board to the other, you just have to get 3 in a row correct. Okay? And if you get one wrong, then that's it, you failed, and that's the game over.
Oh,
all right?
Yes.
So, which letter would you like to start with?
So, I used to love Blockbusters, so yes, I would love to have a P, please.
P.
P.
Yay! I'm so glad we got that in. Okay, which P did we visit in 2003 in the FA Vase?
Oh, I remember because it's down near Bognor, isn't it? I forgot what it's called now. That's going to be... Well, this game's going to last very long, isn't it? I can't remember what it's called now. It was... It's somewhere down Bognor. I went to it. No, the name was gone. The name was gone.
Is there like a family fortune sound we can play here at this point? So like fallen at the first hurdle.
Oh dear, I can't remember where it was. Yeah, but no, it's down Bognor somewhere. I can't remember. I can't remember where it is now. No.
Okay, you're going to kick yourself when I say Pagham.
That's it.
Well, yes, it is.
People all know it's down. I went to the game.
It was on a Sunday.
Well, that was a good game. I enjoyed that.
Do you want to do the next 2 questions anyway?
Yeah, why not? Let's
see how many you can get out of 3. So do you want to pick another letter? I've got 26 questions lined up. Well, 25 now. So any letter you want to choose, any letter you want, Stu. Your decision.
Let's just go for the top of the pile. Let's go for A.
A. Okay. Which A is the first name of our goalkeeper who played in our very first ever league fixture as AFC Wimbledon against Sandhurst Town?
Andrew, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed. Do you remember his surname?
Merry.
No.
Oh no, it wasn't Andrew Merry, was it? It was Ray Merry. I can't remember.
It was Ray Merry.
Andrew, our first game.
I'll give you a clue. He might have been in the away end for the game against Portsmouth last week.
Doesn't give me any clue at all. No.
It does. It's a huge clue. When I tell you the answer, you're going to be like, oh, yeah.
Let's just call him Andrew. I never got his surname. I just called him Andrew.
What was in the away end last Saturday?
Bellend.
So his name is what?
Andrew Bellend.
Not Andrew Bellend.
Oh, I know, it's Andrew Bellend.
There we go.
Ding dong.
Oh, dear. He lasted 4 games and then we sacked him off for Glyn Schimmel.
I knew that name rang a bell. Anyway.
There we go. Last one then. Last letter.
W for whiskey.
Of all the W words you could have picked,
there's a lot of other
on the 9 years podcast.
I think we're in trouble anyway, so let's just not.
Yeah, let's not go there. Okay, which W is the first name of the last Wimbledon player to score a goal at Old Trafford?
Oh, he's one of my favourite players. I wonder what he's doing now. Walid Badir.
It was indeed Walid Badir. You got 1 out of 3, really. Can't really give you Andy. Well, no, you did say Andy, to be fair. So 2 out of 3. That's fair.
Yeah. Walid Badir. Great player. He had the most weirdest stride pattern as well.
He did. He had a strange gait, as Alex Ferguson might say.
Did he play with Roddy? Did he actually play in the same team with Robbie Earl?
Well, he was. At some point, they must have done.
Because again, Robbie Earl had the most weirdest stride pattern ever. Like it's like he was like in a gallop, like a horse. It was like a galloping sort of thing, wasn't it, Robbie Earl?
Be very careful where you're treading with that one.
But you know what I mean with that, don't you? Do you know what I mean? But no, the great thing with Robbie Earl is I saw on some dodgy channel. He now in America now. He's part of one of the American networks with Robbie Musto. Weird combination, but yeah, I saw something with him on the other day, and it was great to see Robbie Earl, one of my favourite players. Was
he the most talented player to ever play for Wimbledon?
I think so. I think over a period of time, he should have played for England. We know, but he got his chance with Jamaica in the France World Cup, didn't he? And scored for Jamaica. But yeah, really, he was a great player, and yeah, you won't get many like him again.
No, I mean, the closest I think in terms of who would be the best player to ever play for Wimbledon is probably someone like Liam Trotter. Walid Badir. I think he was an Israeli international, Walid Badir. His hearing was actually very good.
That's quite good for you.
Thank you. Moving on. The ladies were in action last weekend, and we don't have a first-team men's game this weekend, so if you need your football fix, you can travel to Enfield Town, ladies, because that's where our ladies will be, at the QE Stadium on Donkey Lane, actually, bizarrely. FA Cup. I wasn't going. No, I've already made my jokes today. I was not going to go there. I'd already made my Trotter joke for this week. FA Cup third qualifying round action for the ladies. They beat Norwich last week 3-1 at Coulston Avenue, the home of Colchester Athletic. Liz O'Callaghan got 2, and then Hannah Billingham got the third goal. So, yeah, 2 o'clock kickoff this Sunday if you'd like to go to see the ladies in Women's FA Cup action. That is it, Stu, except for, do you know what I found? Sorry, listeners. It's been a busy week, and we've been talking absolute nonsense for long spells today. A little while ago I told you about the Mercedes advert. It's got scary music.
Yes.
I found the music. It's properly scary. Like, listen to... I've got it here. I'm going to play it from here. Like, can you hear that?
I can.
This is scary music. Like, if I'm at home alone of an evening and this comes on, I'm a bit like, I don't want to get up or move around because I'm worried something bad's going to happen.
It could be a ringtone, couldn't it?
It could be.
Scared to pick up the phone.
Do you know what? It's got like a sense of foreboding. I mean, listen to that. Ugh. Yeah. I don't know.
The music I've been listening to this week, that's not got a patch on it. I mean, I saw The Mighty Cher on Monday.
The Mighty Cher?
I don't know what you call her. But yeah. I've got to be careful now because my wife is in the room, so I'll be careful what I say now, but yes.
If you could turn back time, would you go and relive that concert?
There's so many jokes there, isn't it? But I have to say, for a lady who's 73 years old...
Lorraine's not 73. Oh,
no, Lorraine's not 73. So I have to say it's quite amazing. But it did... What I would say to you is, it reminded me of my dancing. She's old now, isn't she? So she did like my sort of dancing, like side to side, side to side. She didn't move that much. But yeah.
Liam Trotter joke, sorry.
An amazing voice. And the most weirdest thing at the O2 was there was probably every different age range in that O2 arena. But yeah, that was my Monday night. Good to share.
Isn't it just? But hey, Stu, at her age, the beat goes on. And
there's too many, but I'm not going to join in your silly games.
Do you know? Cher once got a pet pig, and when she got it, she said, "I got you, babe." Come on, listeners, give me a bit of love and understanding for these horrendous jokes.
It's probably like Quizzy Pie doing a pass and he found someone, isn't it?
Oh, wow.
Anyway. All or nothing now.
And I'm such a little man sometimes. Right, I think this show needs an SOS because I think this is podcast overboard. I think we can believe that. What's happening this week then? Nothing's happening this weekend. There's no game to preview. There are some other League One games that are quite important. Southend are playing Ipswich, is quite interesting. Accrington are playing Gillingham. That's it. And George will be talking more in depth on the Burton game and previewing the Lincoln game, because they'll have something to preview with on Sunday at Love Sport Radio from 8 p.m. Yeah. Should we mention there's no show next week, of course?
No, don't forget the end next week. If you want to turn back time, the clocks go back at the end of next week.
So we're literally turning back time. How long have you been holding on to that share joke?
Oh, it could be all day. But yeah,
sadly, yes.
But we have a break. I'm going away for a wedding at Halloween, and I think it's nice. I think we can all recharge our batteries.
Absolutely. Ahead of, on November the 3rd, Dom's Trust election hustings, which will be live broadcast on YouTube with the 8 candidates going for 5 places on the board of the Dom's Trust. So you can tune in from just before 10:30, because we'll do a little introduction, about 10:25ish on Sunday the 3rd of November. You will be able to see us, which is not potentially a good thing. And we'll put all the links on our website for you to follow. So if you go to 9YRS Podcast from about 10:20, 10:25 on Sunday the 3rd of November, you'll be able to watch along. We'll do them in 2 sessions. The first session will conclude at 12:30, and the second session will begin at 2 p.m. And we look forward to taking your questions. So if you've got questions you want to put to the election candidates, you can do that live whilst you're watching through the medium of YouTube, and we will ask as many of those as we can as well. So looking forward to that. Stu, is there anything you'd like to add at this juncture?
No, I think it's always really important that it's, last year was quite good in terms of the sort of views we had, and generally just being able to provide a different way of getting to know your candidates and stuff like that. I'll be truthful, there's a few on the people that have gone that I don't know actually, so I'm looking forward to meeting them and seeing what they've got to say. But we're a fan zone club, run by the Dun Trust board who govern the football club board, so it's really important that we have people on there that we, especially obviously what's been going on recently, it's really important we have people in there that will represent us.
Absolutely. And that is where we will just about bring the podcast to a close. However, before we do, Stu, music quiz. If you recognise the song that started this week's show, tweet us at 9YRS Podcast. We had quite a few responses last week to our song. And I've just looked it up now, Stu, to make sure I can see all the responses that got it correct. And what happens is you type in some keywords into the Twitter search engine to bring them up, and you get some really strange messages come up. For instance, on April the 8th, 2017, James Longhurst tweeted us to say, "I hope Alfie Egan has some sun cream on." What do you reckon that was about?
That's because he was ginger, wasn't he?
I guess so.
Oh, bless.
And then here's one from Ray Armfield on April 22nd, 2016. At 9 Years Podcast. Meanwhile, in darkest Hampshire, an elderly man in a blazer reaches for another custard cream and cackles loudly. What do you reckon that was about? It's just bizarre, isn't it, when you look back and think...
I don't know, but Ray's tweets can be absolutely brilliant, and he had some great ones this week.
If you don't follow Ray on Twitter, please do so at Kent Womble. And if you want to follow Kwesi Apaya on Twitter, tough, you'll be blocked. Right, last week's music song was White Room by Cream, of course it was. 1968, correctly guessed by John Manderson, who got the year, as did It Was 1968, and Lee Rumbelow at Meadow AFCW, just a year out with 1969, but White Room by Cream, so thank you guys for getting in touch. Colin McAndrew did the same at Online Cham? How do I say that? Cham? Colin, can you tweet us, please, to how to get your Twitter handle correct? And Baylor Han as well also said that, and got the year right as well. So thank you to all of you for tweeting us correctly with that. And that is indeed it for this week's show, because we've talked enough nonsense for this week. Thank you very much, Stu, for joining me.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
AFC Wimbledon should play in blue away from home at all times unless another opposition play in actually blue. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, shove your bell up your arse. We will speak to you again in 2 weeks' time.